Well, as we've mentioned, the DNC theme this year is Uniting America, but it feels a lot more like an anti-Trump party so far, with speakers like Kamala Harris and former President Barack Obama and even former First Lady Michelle Obama, just to name a few of them, focusing their speeches on attacking the president. To weigh in on night 3 of the convention, let's bring in civil rights lawyer and host of the Leo Terrell podcast, Leo Terrell. Good to see you.
Hey, Lindsay, Sean, glad to be here. Let's get at it.
See you. All right. Well, how did you think? Look, I've been pretty down on nights 1 and 2. I thought night 3 definitely was a little more star power. What did you think of night 3, Leo?
To be honest, I thought it was all 3 nights were dark, negative. They have no policy or procedures as to what they want to do. I agree with you. It was all anti-Trump. I'm going to tell you right now, Sean and Lindsay, I think they're jealous of Trump because they don't have any policies. They kept echoing Black Lives Matter as appeasement. They didn't talk about the destruction of democratic cities because they can't. They have to ignore it. So overall, this has been a very dull and boring convention, and it's very negative, which means they're very fearful of Donald Trump.
You know, Leo, talking of negative, we saw Barack Obama really come out strong against President Trump. I want to just play one clip from one of his many jabs. Take a listen.
For close to 4 years now, he has shown no interest in putting in the work, no interest in finding common ground, no interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends. No interest in treating the presidency as anything but one more reality show that he can use to get the attention he craves.
This only proves your point that this has been negative so far. But were you surprised that a former president attacking the current president so strongly?
Donald Trump in the last 3.5 years has done more for African Americans than Obama and Biden, historically funding Black colleges, the lowest unemployment Black rate ever. First Step, the First Step Act. You know what that did? That undid that 1994 disastrous crime bill act by Joe Biden, giving Black American, all Americans a second chance. Donald Trump has done so much. He's a man of action. And again, I think the Democrats are very jealous of his accomplishments.
You know, Leo, you're a lawyer. There were a lot of folks today that were saying that Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor is not getting the attention it deserves. What is your take on whether or not that should be a focus of the Trump campaign? Because clearly there's a big concern out there about folks that were wrongly prosecuted during her tenure as district attorney.
Listen, I think there's some tension between Kamala Harris and some people in the Democratic Party. Tulsi Gabbard exposed her. She was, let me be very clear, she was a horrific, terrible attorney general. She put away little people for pot smoking and then brag about it. She refused to follow federal court orders regarding inmates who should have been released. She used them for cheap labor. And this is a woman who has a horrible record as an attorney general. See, the problem, Sean, is this. Kamala Harris is only about Kamala Harris. Unlike Trump, who places country first. I think they should go after her record. They should use the Tulsi Gabbard debate against her. She's horrible as an AG. She's horrible as a politician, period.
You know, right now we're seeing the whole world through this COVID lens, and the Biden administration has really tried to set up, or campaign rather, has really tried to set up that if it was the Biden administration, that they would be this great power on the coronavirus. We even saw Michelle Obama and Barack Obama say that the administration 2014-16 was able to, keep Ebola from our shores. But I want to pull up just an example that they're trying to correlate something that is not even close. There were only 36 cases outside of West Africa with Ebola, 11 of those in the U.S. So to try to be comparing Ebola, what happened in 2014, with the coronavirus, which we know it is now, do you think that that is absurd, or is that a good correlation?
Totally absurd. It's a lawyer. See, that's a lawyer trick. Barack, a lawyer, it's smoke and mirrors. I think that what Donald Trump has done regarding the pandemic, and again, the Democrats want to overplay it. There's a serious pandemic out there, but Donald Trump has tried to reopen the economy and then try to get the economy back rolling and telling people to be careful, to be safe. But we have to open up our schools. That's an essential business. We have to, but to compare the current pandemic with what the Obama administration experienced with Ebola is a misdirection play and does not apply here.
Leo Terrell, thank you, sir, for your input. I look forward, and I hope you'll come back next week and get your take on how the Republicans are doing at their convention in Charlotte.
Well, during the DNC, we have heard many speakers say that Democrats are the party that represents everyone. But there's one minority group that isn't feeling so much love. Here's a headline from NBC article this week that said Democrats need Latino voters. So where are the Latinos at the Democratic National Convention? You know, the shocking part about all of this is, as the article mentions, citing a Pew report, Latinos are actually the largest racial or ethnic minority group in the 2020 electorate. To discuss, let's bring in Florida congressional candidate and United States Air Force veteran, Ana Paulina Luna. So good to see you, Ana.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, in 2016, we saw that Hillary got about 70% of the Latino vote. But with Latinos not seeing themselves very well represented, at least in prominent spots on stage, is this going to be a concern for them? Does this help or hinder them going over to vote Democrat?
Well, I will say that, according to PewHispanic.org, that you're right, the largest voting minority in the country are Hispanic Americans. And I do think that the Democrats really in 2016 realized that, because if you notice, prior to 2016, the DNC and very prominent outspoken members of the Democrat Party, to include Obama, were super big advocates for border security and against illegal immigration. But then President Trump came on scene. He started talking about the dangers of an open border, which I completely back and agree with. And all of a sudden, they pivoted to try to use identity politics to really target the Hispanic voting demographic. But ultimately, when you come here legally, when you're born here and you're Hispanic, you're primarily a faith-based community, which means you're conservative. So I can tell you, having grown up in that culture, having been half Mexican myself, that really I'm thoroughly enjoying seeing what the Democrat Party is doing, running around with their chicken, like a chicken with their head cut off, because they're losing the vote. Their radicalization and embracing socialism is completely killing their chances in the state of Florida, especially in the Miami area. And I could not be happier to be a Republican member representing my district in one of the most contested races in, I think, U.S. history.
Yeah, you've got a very competitive race there, but you've raised a boatload of money, and I think you're going to give Charlie Crist a real run for his money. The DNC, Lindsay and I have talked about this during the week, has done a really good job every night of highlighting strong women, right? You had Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, obviously, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. I mean, they've really put women front and center. Do you think the Republicans need to do the same thing next week with women like you?
I think that it would do them a lot of good, and I would love, the opportunity to do that. But what I really find alarming and what really upsets me as a woman, especially as someone who served this country, is that the DNC will promote women and say that they care about women, yet they're actively ignoring child trafficking. They're actively ignoring the trafficking of women at the U.S.-Mexico border because it doesn't fit into their political agenda and narrative. So for someone like myself, I do look at this like pandering, and there's a reason why I'm not a Democrat. It's because I'm educated on the topics. And if Kamala Harris isn't going to stand up for the women and children, I will.
Ana, so good to see you. Thanks for your insights, and good luck with your race.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up, we'll continue our conversation about the DNC and dive a little deeper into why the broadcasts are landing flat. And later, a big move by the Trump administration to keep Iran in check. We'll be right back.